Looks like I'm live. Tuesday, I had a lady judge in courtroom 14 of the circuit court up in Towson, Baltimore County. I knew I was going to lose, but I didn't know she was going to be so outrageous. She said, "Doesn't matter." He called the police and said I was armed and threatening him, his patients, and June 2nd of last year, the first day I started protesting at Forest Haven Nursing and Rehabilitation Center at 701 Edmonston Avenue, Catonsville. The owner, Ron Colbert, called the police and said that. The judge says you can't prove you were hurt in any way, shape, or form. I was surrounded by police, held against my will. I couldn't leave. Interrogated for 10 minutes until they found out I never left my car. I'm sitting out at a public road, legally parked, with signs on the roof of my car and the front bumper of my car, telling what the nursing home did to my wife and other patients there. And they only had a 1-star rating last year and many years now from Medicare that does research on nursing homes. But that's nothing new. Half the nursing homes in America only get a 1-star from Medicare out of 5. She didn't address him blocking me in with his big pickup truck. Backing right up to my front bumper. She didn't address that he swore out a protection order under oath. Ron Colbert, CEO of Forest Haven, under oath signed out a protection order against me. Which was immediately dismissed because he couldn't prove I was ever on his property or ever threatened anybody. They have camera phones. They have video cameras. He has a crew of probably 30 or 40 between the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He needs them. Couldn't prove I ever left my vehicle except to put my signs up or to take them down for a couple minutes. Walking around my vehicle, picking up all the signs off of it and putting them in the back seat. Or getting them out of the back seat and putting them up on my vehicles. She didn't address that a big black man came out, shaking his fist in the front of my car, and then walked down the side of my car shaking his fist at me until I turned on my camera. Then he ran back in the nursing home, threatening me. His lawyers asked for admissions I gave that I was acting erratic. I'm crazy. They refused to answer any interrogatories. Judge says it doesn't matter. They refused to show up for a deposition. I gave them 30-day written notice. They had plenty of time to call me or reply to it that they couldn't make it. No, they ignored it. And the judge said it was my duty to call them and work out the details. That's why sanctions against them was dismissed for not showing up. And the fees it cost me for the court reporter agency, hunt reporting agency. And then she shows her bias at the end when she dismisses the case. She only talked about 1 count of 6 in the case. You can't dismiss the whole case. for one count. And that's the only count that the defendants put in front of her. She held me in the courtroom. She said, Mr. Bly, you have to stay in this courtroom until the defendant's attorneys are able to leave the area. And then I was escorted to my car by the sheriffs of Baltimore County. When I had never shown a sign since 1981 that I'm mentally ill, or a drug addict, or an alcoholic. And my sister's been dead since 2005. And they still have it on all the fucking records all over this goddamn state. Some of you would say I'm crazy because I have signs on my car protesting how they killed my wife. And if I could present it to a jury, the facts, the medical history, there isn't a jury in the world that wouldn't convict them. And Ron Colbert for the wrongful death of my wife. It's just like when I'm running for Congress now. I've been running because they illegally convicted me in 1986 for a crime they knew I didn't do. But they had to help me. I was suffering all these flashbacks from Vietnam. I was a drug addict, alcoholic. I killed hundreds of women and children forced to by the army. I was a threat to the community, threat to myself, beat my wife and kids. That's what my sister told them in 1981. How many dozens of fucking times does it have to be dismissed as unfounded and still stay on the books? Because somebody said it, you got to be guilty, even though they can't find any evidence at the time. They pulled my wife from work and threatened her with deportation if she wouldn't confess. She told him to go to hell. I was a good husband. They pulled my kids out of class, threatening them with foster care. And their mom sent back to Vietnam if they wouldn't confess I was a bad dad. They wouldn't confess. They said, Daddy's a good man. Over and over and over again. For 41 fucking years now. And this goddamn biased judge holds me in court. I've been running for U.S. Congress to get my illegal criminal conviction out there in front. You think the gun task force was crooked? Robert Bates was just as crooked with falsifying the arrest and indictment against me. The so-called victim denied it, doing direct with the prosecutor yelling at her that she had to say it. They even brought in an illegal interpreter when my lawyer started questioning her about not saying I did this stuff. Oh, she can't talk anymore. She's got to go through the interpreter. And the interpreter knew how to lie for her and was telling what the arrest warrant said and indictment said in English, saying that's what she said. And she would stand up in the witness box and yell at him, I didn't say that. Dozens of times the judge and prosecutor told her, sit down and shut up, you can't speak English anymore. I was the first one with DNA. I was the first one to show Officer Robert Bates lying at a deposition. I had so much fucking evidence in the file, of my innocence and the corruption of this illegal conviction of me that they destroyed the file. I mean, they shredded it. They didn't expunge it because I wouldn't allow it if they would have asked me. When I sued them to restore my file, my criminal conviction on record, so the news media could see it, they couldn't. Federal court even allowed Diane Liebno, the head clerk of the Howard County Circuit Court, there over 30 years, sit there with Wayne Roby and say the whole file was there. The AG knew it wasn't. There was only a half an inch of file from 35 years of fighting. The appellate court records are gone. The police file is gone. The social service file is gone. The court file is gone. The prosecutor's file is gone. The internet file is gone. All shredded. Totally unrecoverable. The judge asked me in federal court, why did I want it restored? Because I'm still a convicted felon with the FBI. They didn't shred that file. And I have to fight it in Howard County. To get my federal file redacted. Make me a free man again from having a felony. They knew she was 22. They knew it wasn't my wife's 15-year-old daughter that had come here posing as her, because my brother-in-law had to bring somebody or he couldn't come. And he wasn't going to tell us she had died during the takeover 10 years before, because he'd collected too much money from us and too many lies. And he was in and out of jail all the time in Vietnam for corruption. He hid that. But they knew she was 22. And they convicted me of child abuse. And when I sued them to restore my file, the only thing they put was I was arrested for child abuse and sexual offense, which happened to be 4th degree, which is a misdemeanor. Just touching of somebody without their permission and on any part of their body. You can't pat them on the head, on the shoulder. That's 4th degree sex offense. 3rd degree is when you touch them sexually. They forgot assault of a minor and battery of a minor. They didn't even know what I was arrested for when they put that on. So that started running in 2002. The Baltimore Sun, the Columbia Flyer, the Howard County Times completely disgraced me, saying I was a multiple child rapist, molester, child abuser. They're not going that far since I sued them. They're just saying I was arrested for child abuse now, sexual abuse of a child. Instead of looking at my story. But I am a Republican, and they don't like Republicans. But my own party, Republican Party, has disgraced me every time they can, because I'm a constitutional conservative, religious person, while most of them in Maryland are left-wing Republicans. You can't even find hardly a Republican that's center, let alone right of center. I mean, what can I do? Judges rule against me, like with the wrongful death. You got to hire an expert, $50,000 to read the medical file to the court. I have the medical file. I can pull the pages out to show the wrongful death. But no, you got to have an expert. Then to turn in a judge for illegal ruling to the Disabilities Commission. They run you around in circles. They send back papers all the time. You didn't cross this T or dot this fucking I. We want a double space. We want all this shit to stop you from putting in a complaint for illegal judges' rulings. I put in 18 judges to the Court of Appeals, which has the final say on restricting judges off the bench in Maryland. Denied. But I got a record of it, I hope. Or did they shred that too? I got a 7-foot stack of papers now. I've spent $100,000 of my Social Security and VA check in the last 5 years. And guess what? Judge William Tucker of Howard County Court should be put in jail for the crimes he committed against an American veteran, a disabled veteran, when there was no conviction he could find because it had been shredded before he got on the bench in 11 or 12. I don't know when it was shredded. I never could find out who shredded it. But all he had to do was call me into court and says, "Aren't you a convicted felon, Mr. Bly?" And I'm sitting there, "Yes." Well, under Maryland state law, you're not allowed to be around your wife or touch any assets, no matter what your wife wants. And me and my wife made a stand, go to hell, 46, 47 years of marriage at that time. She wanted to be home with me. She was totally competent again after a second minor stroke from brain radiation. She was free of cancer for 7 fucking years. The judge told her to go to hell and sent the SWAT team and beat the hell out of me against a cement wall and then down on the ground. I had 5 guys on me, not 3 like George Floyd. And I have it on video. Nobody cares because I'm white. I have privilege. It's the latest thing. How screwed can you be in America? We're not the land of the free. We're the land of the dictators. Prosecutors constantly across this country are accused of withholding evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, knowing witnesses are going to perjure themselves against defendants just to get convictions. And when they're found out, they'll still say, "Well, I still think he's convicted. He's guilty. I didn't do anything wrong. I never saw that evidence to turn over." Lie after lie after lie, and nothing ever happens to them. Judge Fisher, my trial judge, locked me up in jail with my second lawyer. Headed to Perkins State Hospital for the criminally insane. Because my sister had convinced him I was a raging, out of control maniac, heavy on drugs and alcohol, and beat my wife, and might blow up my house or the community, or shoot it up. I hope my sister is having fun in hell, because that's where in the hell she deserves. She's 20 years older than me. She was anyway when she died in 2005. Couldn't stay married. And she's saying all this stuff to the police, the courts, my lawyers. And she's on Social Security disability for mental illness. Five days in jail. A psychiatrist analyzed me. Another Vietnam veteran. Sat there most of the days and talked to me. Told the judge there was nothing wrong with me. I kept telling him, check my blood test, check my urinalysis. Linda Ostovich quit the state's attorney's office right after my case for some reason. Whether she was fired or quit, I don't know. She came over to the defense table with her final argument of the trial and said, and pointed at me and said, and looked back at the jury and said, if you heard one word from anybody that he didn't do something to this poor woman, Maryland law says you got to bring back your conviction. She denied all the charges. Except I did bad things to her. What, where, when, how, anything else, she couldn't remember. Doing direct with the prosecutor, Linda Ostovich, asking her. Kate O'Donnell was the one that had me locked up. The first prosecutor to recuse herself from my trial. Judge Fisher refused to recuse himself after locking me up for 5 days. They've been trying to take my house for a long time. I have a video on here called The Whole Truth on this YouTube channel. Watch it. And then stop subscribing to the Baltimore Sun, the Washington Post, or any of these local newspapers, because they're all corrupt as hell. If they were really out there presenting the news instead of political points of view, they would have covered my story years ago and got my conviction set aside as totally unjust and illegal. And my wife would never have died in a nursing home. Her oncologist said she'd be alive for many, many more years. She was still going to have side effects for many more years from too much chemo and too much brain and lung radiation. But after 6.5 years of CAT scans and MRIs, the cancer had not returned. And that's the longest anybody has ever had that happen. So he guaranteed me it was not going to come back. And a neurologist stated that my wife did not have Alzheimer's or dementia. According to the CAT scans and MRIs of her brain, there are absolutely no signs of dementia or Alzheimer's, which is what John Hopkins diagnosed her with her second minor stroke. Instead of looking at her medical record, she had one a year before from the brain radiation. And sent her home to die without a feeding tube because her esophagus had collapsed from the stroke. That's Johns Hopkins Hospital in Howard County, Columbia, Maryland. Complete misdiagnosis. My wife was comatose for 6 weeks. But I kept her alive without a feeding tube. As soon as she got the feeding tube and they took her off of her 12 or 14 medications, she woke up and was totally coherent when she went to the neurologist and talked for over an hour with them, answering all kinds of questions, present questions and past questions. And the neurologist says she's perfectly normal. She's getting a little old, and sometimes it takes a little while to remember, a minute or two. But no signs of dementia, Alzheimer's. It was from the effects of a second minor stroke. And when she woke up and told the court, go to hell, and we had the evidence to show she was normal and could make her own decisions, the court told her to kiss their ass. And we told them to kiss our ass. They sent 5 SWAT teams. Beat the hell out of me. I had cuts and bruises all over me. I got pictures of it. They fractured my damn skull. And they forced my wife out of this house against her will. That's why I'm running for U.S. Congress. I'm tired of the abuse of these officials with all of this fucking immunity they got. And they buy their offices. Oh, let's give Giant Food free property tax and everything to Baltimore County. Howard County, let's give Giant Food free property tax to move to Howard County from PG County because their tax break for 30 years ran out in PG County. Let's give all these incentives and free taxation, free no property tax and everything to Amazon to get them to come to Maryland. Let's spend hundreds of millions of dollars for a new football stadium for the Redskins to keep them here in Maryland. $1 billion a year money maker. And our taxpayers are paying for this stuff? Yes. Our big corporations are getting over like crazy because they give so many campaign contributions. I hated Donald Trump, but I voted for him. When he bragged about giving Democrats and Republicans a lot of campaign contributions because he was going to have a building project in the near future in that area, and he wanted them to vote yes for it. They owed him for all the money he gave them to help them run and win. We got to stop this shit in our government. From our city. Another thing we got to stop is these damn crime people. Like George Floyd. Those cops shouldn't be in jail. He was fighting. It took 3 of them to get him on the ground, and when he was on the ground, he was yelling and fighting like hell. The cop didn't starve him a bear. The first coroner said he died of a fentanyl overdose. If you can't get air, how can you keep yelling over and over and over again without being able to inhale some air to breathe out to yell? But the prosecutor had to get an expert coroner to say that knee on his shoulders behind his neck suffocated him to death. To stop the riots. Our government should not pay 1 fucking penny to any criminal, even if the cop becomes an executioner. The cop should go to jail if he executes the person wrongfully. But somebody in a commission of a crime being arrested or chased or detained that dies, they shouldn't get a fucking penny. They were committing a crime. And they shouldn't be put up on all the billboards as heroes. We got enough rap music about gangbanging and everything else. Shoot the cop, fuck the bitch, everything. And if you do, you're rewarded. Especially if you die. Or even if you don't die, like the man in California many, many years ago, a decade or 2. Got millions of dollars because he was beat up by the police. while he was trying to be arrested. We got to stop rewarding criminals. And we got to stop paying off their families if they die in police custody or while being arrested. Not one penny for committing a crime. But the police should be held accountable if it was truly excessive force. Not a lie by the prosecutor because they don't like police officers. Like we got so many prosecutors in this country right now that hate police and want to nail police. And so many mayors and city council people, especially in our democratic cities, that want to pay all these victims of police brutality, their families, millions of dollars about taxpayer money, which rewards criminal activity. As far as immigration, we should triple the legal immigration quotas. 15 years to come here from Vietnam under the quota right now is ridiculous. But we need a national ID. We got to bring back Obama, where he threatened and passed a law that if you hire an illegal, it's a $10,000 fine per person illegal you have working for your company. Obama did that. Obama deported twice as many people as Trump his first 4 years. Well, we also got to bring back Bill Clinton's law reforming welfare. No more than 5 years in your lifetime and no more than 2 years at a time. And you must submit to job training. In that 2 years, you're getting the welfare each time, but no more than 5 years for your life to collect benefits from welfare. Everybody wants a freebie. And the Democrats are famous for freebies. The Republicans too. Buying votes. But when you keep doubling the money supply, you keep upping the debt by trillions, your money becomes worthless. And at $10 an hour, or just say for non-fighting, you make $10 an hour back in '68. You could pay rent, raise a kid, buy food. Because the average person only made $1 an hour back then. I mean, you would be living rich at $10 an hour. I made $1.25 in '72, and my wife made $1.05, I think it was, or $1.10 minimum wage. We still bought this house for $17,000. Now it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wait a minute. Why doesn't it go as far? Because the government keeps throwing away money. Like $1 billion a year to the Palestinians to buy more bombs to attack Israel with. Buying oil from Russia, Iran, Venezuela, our enemies. Having most of our drugs made in China. An enemy country. We sold out America a long time ago, our politicians, both sides. I'm not fit to go in that swamp. Never cared about money. Let me show you something. See that big crack next to that light up there? There's also a big hole just behind the light there, you can see. I needed my ceiling patch from a past roof leak. The roof don't leak anymore. But I need a lot of patchwork, and I can't raise my hands over my head. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. My body hardly works anymore. My chest is hurt for over a week now. I had extreme chest pains about a week and a half ago, where I laid on the floor for a half an hour. I couldn't breathe, and I was praying I would die and go be with my wife. And after I was able to get up a little bit, I put the blood pressure machine on my arm, and I registered 235 over 111. I'm still having minor chest pains. I have a DNR. My lungs are full of tumors. My prostate is way over enlarged with stuff on it. It could be cancerous. I have angina. I have arrhythmia in my heart. 12 times now, I've gone almost unconscious or unconscious. 4 times, 5 times now, ambulance crews or hospitals have diagnosed me having a heart attack where I've refused treatment. I have rheumatoid arthritis. All my joints hurt like hell. I have no joints left, no padding in my joints. It's bone against bone. But I keep up this fight for you and me. But it's not working. All they want to do is disgrace me. Say stuff that's not true. And they don't check out what I say. And when they started to, a couple of reporters, they shredded my file at Howard County Circuit Court. And nobody cares. That's totally illegal under federal law. Doesn't matter. The head clerk committing perjury in federal court, the contract judge that knew she was and refused to let me question her. Like, show me my arrest warrant. She doesn't have to show you anything in the file. She says it's all there, so it's all there. About that much thick of paper. For 35 years of fighting. 20 appeals. The AG, when I turned him in for supporting perjury, immediately left the AG office after 20 years of being there. But he's making a lot of money at a private law firm now, a lot more than he made at the AG office. Every lawyer opposing me lies, falsifies, and ignore the rules and statutes in their motions to court. And I cite them. Judges say I'm wrong, even though it's in black and white. And Maryland Rules 1 and 2, or statutes that I quote and name. Judge says I'm misstating it. Well, how can you misstate something that's in black and white, word for word? It's like this latest bitch in courtroom 14 of Baltimore County Circuit Court smiled, laughed, and handed me a bunch of papers saying I don't know what I'm doing as a lawyer. How many lawyers has got 3 or 4 different counties, complete benches recused? How many has had the Court of Special Appeals recused on one case from hearing it when I appealed it up? How many lawyers have been in the Court of Special Appeals and Appeals Court dozens and dozens of times and even argued cases? How many people's been in federal court a dozen times for civil rights law violations? How many has been to the 4th Circuit in Richmond appealing and fighting those cases? How many's been to the Supreme Court and it was accepted without being returned out of form? A little tiny fucking book. So much between staples. So much between print size. So much on each side, top and bottom. A funny fucking type print. 40 copies of it. And had a ruling. An unpublished ruling on both times. But you can still find Raymond Bly versus State of Maryland and Howard County. If you look real hard, 1990, 1992. 2 rulings by the Supreme Court. I lost. But how many lawyers have even been to appellate courts? I'm tired of all these fucking rules. It's like you told me, so what, he didn't show up for the deposition. You should have called him and set it all up. That's the Maryland law. I gave it to him in writing 30 days before the deposition. And I got a duty to call him and discuss if that date's okay with him when he doesn't even bother to call me or write me or email me that he couldn't make it. He just doesn't show up. That cost me $100 and some for hunt reporting. It was my duty to call him and work things out. This system is so corrupt. The only thing I think can happen is it has to be torn down and start from scratch again with our basic constitution, which is not read between the lines. Where our courts can't even read it. We the people, for the people, by the people. All people are created equal. And one of our first Supreme Court rulings was, it said white people only. Blacks couldn't be counted as people in America. It never said anything about color. It said all of us. There were black, white, Muslims, Middle Eastern, Asians, everybody here before our country was founded. All 6 main religions were here. Muslims, Sikhs, Hindu, Buddhists, Christians, Protestants, Catholics, Baptists. But our court has fucked it all up. And our court has ruled over and over again, denying us our Bill of Rights. Yeah, you're allowed to own a gun, as long as you jump through 1,000 hoops and pay all these licensing fees and research fees and everything else. The Bill of Rights didn't say that. It said no court, no legislative body, no law can be enacted or used or construed to stop you from owning a gun. And back when they wrote this in the Bill of Rights, they knew there were crazy people. They knew they were felons. They still had the right to own a gun. No exemptions. No licensing. No registration. Just like the First Amendment. You have to pay this fee. You got to pay that fee. You got to be bonded. You got to do this. You got to do that to protest or speak up against something. To make it almost impossible to speak up anymore. Or to have a parade like to honor veterans that the bikers used to have. Veterans are terrorists now, according to our government. Conservatives are terrorists. Christians are terrorists. Heterosexuals are terrorists. Men and women are terrorists. You're not allowed to say men and women anymore. There's 68 other groups of people. You can't just be a man or just can't be a woman, even though you were born that way. It's ridiculous what we're teaching our kids. And it's also ridiculous that I'm privileged because I was white. And you can't make it in life in America because of racism. If you're a person of color, might as well give up. Everything's against you. Biggest lies ever by the Democratic Party. I knew a lot of black millionaires around here. They all died in the last 20 years, though. They made their money on a barbecue roach truck, like mostly is Hispanic now. One of them cut hair. He had a little extra money, he kept buying properties in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. All of them, their schools were black only. Segregated schools when they grew up. And they loved it because the teachers wouldn't let them fail. The teachers stayed after. The teachers came over to their home on weekends to get them caught up. They got an education because the black teachers cared about their black brothers and sisters. Black teachers don't give a damn except their pensions and everything else in our public schools and all this damn union shit. They don't want to spend any extra time helping their own kind. Well, the white teachers don't give a damn about helping us either. When I started school, it was desegregated in kindergarten in 1954, 1955 when I started school. And all the teachers were white. They didn't give a damn about me with a speech problem and a broken home, a drunk father, a prescription drug addict mother. They could care less whether you made it or failed. They just stood up there and yelled for an hour, and then you went to the next class. Unless in kindergarten you went to the same teacher all day. They wouldn't take the time to help you. That was about the time the teachers union started to get big in the 50s. And now it has total control over our politicians. We pay more money per student in Baltimore City than most of the private schools or Catholic schools cost per year. And they actually teach you how to read your diploma, how to write a check, how to count. They teach you how to use your brain. They teach you common sense. They teach you how to be realistic. Well, public schools want to teach you that you might be a girl when you're in kindergarten, or you might be a boy. If you think you are, we'll help you get a sex change at 5 years old or 10 years old. And all the kids have to learn how to put on a condom by the time they're 10, the boys. What are we doing to our kids? No more 3 R's. We don't need to teach them. That's all on the iPhones now or the computer. It's getting to be ridiculous. I mean, Facebook's also kicked me off. They tell me I have a threat against me. I need more security. Download this app on your iPhone. and then play with it to get the special code to unlock your Facebook page as extra security every time you log on to your Facebook page. While everybody and your brother, about over 7,000 people that are followers or friends of mine, can now hack my page and I can't get on it to delete it. What they say. So they're doing it to protect my security of being hacked by blocking me from even censoring my own page sometimes, or what I want to put on my page. I mean, let other people put on my page. I can't censor that anymore because of security reasons to protect me. In the last couple of months, I've thought of dropping out of this congressional race. It's too overwhelming Democrat. And they give away everything free. So the minorities want everything for free, even though it's a form of slavery. All the hoops and lies they have to tell to get it. Instead of teaching them how to make it themselves. So they have self-esteem, they have pride, and they think about the future of building their life, getting more education, starting their own business as an electrical, plumbing, cement, lawn care, mechanic business. We don't want to teach them Vo-Tech. We don't want to teach them anything. We just want to put them in big debt when they get that degree in history, math, art, music. My God, they got a 4-year degree in art. What kind of jobs are they going to be able to get? Maybe an elementary school teacher with only a BS in art or music or history or math. You got to have a master's or something to go to middle school or high school, or you need a PhD to teach in college. Be a professor in college to teach math, art, history. And look at the tens of thousands of dollars. Some of them over $100,000 in student loan debt to get a degree, no job. And if they do get a teaching job, they can't pay back their debt because they don't pay that much to start as a teacher. $50,000, $60,000. I mean, this country is so screwed up. And everybody hates their officials. But we keep re-electing them because it isn't my official. It's the other officials in government that I don't like, that other people voted to get them in. So we keep re-electing the same officials. We need to wipe out everything. We got to bring justice to the hierarchies, the rich people, the billionaires, the trillionaires. We have to tell the truth. How do you want to die? You know, lithium batteries are more destructive to everything living than nuclear waste is. But we're promoting it. And all these cars, trucks, backup batteries for solar panels in your home, all of this shit don't work. Coal is the cheapest way to provide sustainable energy for us. And with the proper scrubbers, filters, like BG&E has up here at Fort Armstead, cleans 90% of the air. And then burning trash at the Baltimore incinerator that produces electricity, and in the winter produces hot water to heat a lot of the buildings in Baltimore. after it produces the electricity and is about 95% clean. We need to go to energy that works. Biofuels pollute like hell. That's why they take them out of the fuels in the summer. They make smog that can kill you with too much heat when they come out of your exhaust. They cause lung cancer 10 times worse than just burning petroleum in your car. And we're trying to force everybody to go batteries and solar. All a lie. Where's Greenpeace in this? Where are all the other Earth people instead of the billionaires that own these companies promoting it? And our news media loves the billionaires because they do a lot of advertising with them. So they support all this so-called green energy, which isn't really green. It's just a different kind of poison for us that's going to kill all life. And petroleum is recycled by our environment. Lithium and solar panels will kill our environment for decades to come, centuries to come. Just like nuclear waste does. Genova, 100-mile circle, dead. Don't go in it. You'll get poison and radiation poisoning and die of cancers. Where are we going to dump all these lithium batteries? A little tiny watch battery, that big. A little battery in this video camera I got over here, taping this too. Don't dispose of it. If it goes in the landfills, it will break down and be washed into the underground water. A little tiny watch battery can destroy 10 million gallons of drinkable water to non-drinkable. One little tiny watch battery. That's how dangerous they are for our environment. A big flashlight battery is even worse. And lithium batteries are 100 times worse. But all you people want to show off your electric car. Show off your electric bicycles, your skateboards, your hoverboards, with all of these high contaminant lithium batteries. Even mining lithium is so hazardous for all life for miles around their mining site because it's so deadly to the environment and all living things. But I'm an extremist. I'm not a scientist. But I research, I look, and don't believe a word I say. Do it yourself like I did. Look into this stuff. Our news people lie like hell, promoting billionaires to get even richer off of us by saying we have to have it. We're destroying the environment if you don't have it. And they're promoting an even worse way to destroy the environment, but pocketing billions of dollars. We got to take the money out of our government. We got to stop nonprofits from donating in any way, shape, or form to candidates. No unions can give a penny. No corporate world can give a penny to promote a candidate. And no donation to a candidate should be over 20 bucks, period. And it should be documented. Because candidates right now are bought and sold by our rich people, our corporate world, our special interests and unions. Do they represent us? No, they represent them. We got to take that incentive away from our politicians to get You know, you like me for 2 years. If I was just as crooked as the rest of them, I'd be a multimillionaire by the end of 2 to 4 years in Congress on 185,000 a year salary, minus room and board and everything else. How do they become multimillionaires within only a few years in Congress with a paycheck only 185,000 a year? Because of the special interest, the corporate world, knowing what's going to happen in the stock market before it happens, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all for tonight. Thank you for listening. And, you know, I expect to be slandered again by the Republican Party. I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm also for a religious conservative. I didn't say Christian conservative. I said religious conservative. My wife was Buddhist. I know Muslims. I know Jews. I know Sikhs. I know Hindu people. They all worship their God just like Christians, which I am one. They all have 10 commandments like we have. They all have a heaven and hell, basically, like we have. Why do the religions condemn each other? Because their reverends, their pastors, their fathers, whatever you want to call the leader of their churches, push it to condemn everything that is not them. I'm a Baptist. I hate Catholics. I'm a Catholic. I hate Mormons. I'm a Christian. Jews killed Christ on the cross. I mean, the slander and defamation. Just like the stuff that if you're born white, you're privileged. If you're born black, you're a victim. You never make anything out of your life. No, it's poor against rich. That's what Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, their last year or two of life, promoted. That all of us have to get together and stand up against the ruling class in this country and take back our rights. Take back our opportunity. But as long as they can keep us fighting, they stay up there on the hill screwing us, keeping us impoverished, keeping us enslaved, keeping us chasing our checks to the bank, hoping they won't bounce to pay our bills, keeping us uneducated, keeping us in unsafe places to live, spreading greed, especially among our poor people, so they kill each other for that drug corner so they can make money and buy that Beamer or that 10-foot big screen TV. They illegally me. They use that to take my wife away and kill her. They've done everything under the sun. The newspapers slandering me, defaming me for 20 years of running. The public not believing a word I say and won't research my book on Angel Fire, which is on my Facebook page. There's a link to get to my book that's got 20,000 viewers now after I published it in 2001. That has names and dates of the officials that did this to me. And a lot about my life. It's my life story up to 2001. So read my book. Go to my Facebook page. If the book ain't, it should be there. Only some of my videos are blocked unless you follow me on my Facebook page. And please don't put any nasty comments on my Facebook page because I can't do anything about it. for security reasons. God bless you all. And our country is lost. No more God. We promote drinking, gambling, drugs, and sex now.